is U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who is visiting Japan for the first time. The Pentagon Chief has now claimed that Japan was indispensable in tackling China in the region, including across the Taiwan Strait. Hegseth said Japan is a cornerstone of peace and security in the Indo-Pacific, and that the Trump administration would continue to work closely with the Asian country. Last year, then President Joe Biden's administration announced a major restructuring of the U.S. military command in Japan to deepen coordination with the country's forces as the two allied countries called China their greatest strategic challenge. Japan hosts 50,000 U.S. military personnel, squadrons of fighter jets, and America's only forward-deployed aircraft carrier strike group along a 1,900-mile East Asian archipelago that hems in Chinese military power. Joining me on the broadcast is Mr. Ross Feingold, political risk analyst. Mr. Feingold, interesting developments taking place as far as the U.S. and Japan are concerned. Firstly, why do you think that the U.S. today has taken the decision to once again reiterate its position vis-a-vis its ally Japan?
It's a new government. The Trump administration's only been in office a little over 2 months. And certainly the allies in the Asia region, like Korea, like the Philippines and Japan, they want to know that the United States, the new United States president and government is fully on board with the treaty obligations that the United States has to those countries. And they do have mutual defense treaties. So the United States does have an obligation to defend these countries. And it's a new defense secretary, and it's not a surprise that within his first couple of months on the job, he's also taken time to visit two countries in Asia. He visited the Philippines and Japan on this trip.
Mr. Feingold, at the same time, if the Indo-Pacific is once again in the focus of the new administration in the United States of America, do you feel that that could prove as an impetus to reviving the conversation around Quad, which seems to have died down a little bit?
Certainly, the four members of the Quad, I think it's fair to say that they're very heavily invested in it. Although it's not a defense treaty, but the number of dialogues that they've had in recent years, for military cooperation, discussions among other ministers in the governments, such as foreign ministers, or in the case of the United States, the Secretary of State. I think it shows that the four members of the Quad are fully committed to making this relationship a success. Now, there's no reason to believe that it will become a formal security treaty, but I think the periodic meetings are something that are going to continue, as well as joint exercises. There's one challenge there, which is President Trump is not really a big fan of overseas travel. He demonstrated that in his first term. So he really prefers that these foreign leaders come to the United States. So, the easiest way for the four leaders of the Quad to convene will probably be if they visit President Trump in Washington, D.C.